Hello, listeners, and welcome back to The Wayward Dragons. This is episode 39?
9.
Question mark?
Episode 39. Yeah.
I'm Johnny,
And I'm Kelsey.
and we have a special guest.
Yeah. My fiance is actually joining us because this episode is kind of his expertise.
A little bit.
So today we're actually going to be talking about one of the most famous cryptids on the planet, cryptid creature, the legendary Bigfoot, Sasquatch, wild man, Yeti, skunk ape. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things. I'm going to kind of cover kind of the background information on Bigfoot, and then my fiance is actually going to provide some encounters and stories of encounters and stuff like that. So how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Surviving daylight savings.
Just, scatterbrains, all that fun stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I think the U.S. is like the only country that actually recognizes daylight savings.
We are.
So, which is dumb, but I found out recently why we do that, and I guess I probably should have talked about that during our other episode, but it's really dumb and has to do with, power, basically.
Yeah, it does.
And has absolutely nothing to do with agriculture like I've been told my entire life.
No. It stays out darker. It stays lighter longer so that people stay out and shop more.
Yep. Because yay, capitalism.
It's like, yeah, it's purely capitalism. Purely capitalism.
We won't get into all that.
No, not today. No. That's a story for another day. So, yeah. So, in this episode, we are going to be talking about the legendary Bigfoot, Sasquatch. So I'm going to kind of get into a couple of different things depending on where you're at in the world. That determines the name of the Bigfoot creature. So Bigfoot is kind of seen around the world. It's something that is in every culture. Every culture has some form of wild man creature. And we actually get the term Sasquatch. It's basically an English version of the word Saskets, which is a Native American word. So that's where we get Sasquatch from. So, but all of the Native American versions of this creature's name translates roughly to either wild man or hairy man, depending on where you're from, where you're at.
So, am I a Sasquatch? I am both a hairy man and a wild man.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
You have to do the Sasquatch walk. The Bigfoot walk.
I was like, you are tall. So, I mean, you both could technically qualify as Sasquatch.
I'm hairy.
You are.
I'm a hairy man, so...
You are, and your fabulous beard you got rocking now.
We'll just start like a global secret society, and call ourselves the Sasquatches.
There you go.
Where we just like aimlessly wander around the woods with our shirts off.
Yes. Yes. But like here in the U.S., like in Florida, the Bigfoot creature is called skunk ape. In Ohio, it's called the grass man, tree man. When you get into like Kentucky, kind of not quite the deep south, but kind of that weird in between, they call them the wood booger.
Wood booger, willy booger, stuff like that. Yeah.
Momo, swamp monster. And then when you get to Nepal, you have the Yeti or the abominable snowman. Yeren, which Yeren, that is what they are called in China. And actually, a couple years ago, I was reading an article about how they funded a whole research thing into finding these creatures, like 2015. Yowie is what it is called in Australia. Almas is what it is called in Mongolia. And then in Indonesia, it's called orange pendeki. And I want to say in Indonesia, it's a pygmy Bigfoot. So these things are like midget Bigfoots. Like they're real small. Like the teddy bear looking things from Star Wars, you know? That's what they look like.
The Ewoks?
Ewoks, thank you. That word was not coming to my brain.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick too, depending on where you're at, the appearance of these creatures is going to vary dramatically, including coloration, size, and even facial features.
Yeah.
So I found it. It's a. We were talking before we started recording. I was trying to find the room of this documentary. But I found it. It's called 15 Things You Didn't Know About Bigfoot.
Or what streaming service can you find it on?
So it's through. This is on Paramount Plus, but it's through Showtime. So anything you have a Showtime subscription on.
Okay. But yeah, depending on where you're from, it drastically changes how you see Bigfoot. So you have to think these creatures can be anywhere from 6 feet to 10 feet to 10 feet plus tall. It can be ape-like, which means it's kind of hunched over, walking on all fours, or humanoid, meaning it walks on 2 legs. Fur can be drastically different color, like my fiance said. It can be from dark brown to red to a weird mixture to black, you know, because a lot of people say, oh, well, it's just a bear walking on its back legs. You know, that's how it's kind of debunked, is it's a big black bear or brown bear walking on 2 back legs, which...
Same.
But, I mean, they're huge. They're these huge, muscular creatures, you know, big, they're huge, tall, long arms, horrible smell. I was reading where it's like it was a cross between a skunk with like dead animals underneath its armpits. Like just this cross between skunk and death. Like just nastiness. And they normally leave behind those large footprints that you see in the castings. And then they do tend to travel, either they're like solo creatures or they travel in family units, and they have very small family units. So a mama and a papa, and then like their babies. As for like the most popular places that like sighting wise, there is a website that, and I'll put it in the show notes, and it's called Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization. So basically you go on their website, www.bfro.net, and it brings up their database that they have. You can submit your Bigfoot encounter, but you can also click on multiple places throughout the world, like the US, Canada, Australia, China, Indonesia, Russia, Malaysia. But basically it breaks it down by state for the US, and then once you click on your state, it breaks it down by county, and you can read the most current encounter that they have. The top 5 states that you have a lot of the major encounters. A lot of the major encounters are in the Pacific Northwest, so Washington State, Oregon, California, specifically Northern California, and then you have the state of Florida, followed by Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Texas, kind of any place where there's a lot of dense forest is where you tend to have a lot of Bigfoot sightings. And if you go on I want to say it's a Missing 411 Reddit feed, there's a couple of people that have overlapped Bigfoot sightings with the cave systems throughout the US. And there's a lot of correlation between Bigfoot sightings and the massive cave systems that are here stateside. So food for thought. And then lastly, I wanted to get into, before he starts talking about the encounters and stuff that people have, because I tried to look into like if there's any like folklore, like spiritualist kind of meaning behind seeing Bigfoot. Couldn't really find anything. There are petroglyphs on caves in the Tule River Indian Reservation, California. The petroglyphs show a hairy family unit. I think the petroglyphs are between 500 and 1,000 years old, but there's always been hairy man, wild man myths throughout native cultures here in America. And they're kind of all over the world. This is the one cryptid that is seen everywhere. Every culture has some form of wild man myths, legends. Because in some Indian reservations, they would tell their kids not to say the name of the creature in their culture, because it would cause the creature to come out and take them in the middle of the night. So in some cultures, it was seen as like a boogeyman. If you come and take them, if you say their name, they will come get you. Because they talk about in some Native American cultures being like a cannibalistic type creature, which isn't wrong. And then, so one of the most famous encounters is actually Teddy Roosevelt writes about an encounter that he had in his book, the book he released in 1893 called The Wilderness Hunter. He talks about how he meets a man, and he writes down the man's encounter. And I want to say Teddy Roosevelt had an encounter himself later on after that. There's also a lore episode about it. That's actually how I heard about it. But basically, if you go out into the woods, there's going to be a couple of signs whether you're encountering a Bigfoot. So they like to, like, if you watch any Bigfoot shows, they'll go about like wood knocking, where they knock on trees and stuff like that. They'll throw rocks at you if you're in their territory, which some of the stories that he's told me, that's some scary shit, having a huge fucking boulder thrown at you. There are some places they think that they mark their territory by uprooting lodge pole pines and like kind of weaving them into like a weird like structure to kind of mark territory, I guess. In some places you'll see deer skeletons suspended in trees. Honestly, that, depending on where you're at, I would kind of back away, not because there might be a Bigfoot, but there might be like a mountain lion or something, because they do bring shit up into trees. But you'll hear a lot of vocalization, so a lot of grunting, screaming, yowling. There's no real language that we know for these creatures, but there's a lot of like audio stuff that happens when you encounter these creatures. And then some of the most famous evidence, so obviously the footprints, there's some footprints that have been casted that have the dermal ridges. So those are the ridges that are on your fingers, but they're also that make your fingerprint, but there's also ones that are on your toes that make your toe print. And there are certain foot castings that actually have those kind of footprint type things in the castings. There's hairs that have been left behind. I was reading about a bite impression in 2015. This college professor found bones that looked like they had human bite marks on them, but the problem was it was 2 times the size of our jaw. And then there's the famous Pedersen Gimlin film. So that is the famous film. It's about a minute long of Bigfoot just walking in the forest. It's the most famous that they try to debunk. You can look it up on YouTube or the internet. You can see the famous picture where the Bigfoot looks back at them.
Yeah, I believe that the guys who filmed that, the last one that was alive, if I recall correctly, said on his deathbed that was a fake.
Yeah. There's been that.
But then again, he could just be covering up for Bigfoot.
He could be hiding Bigfoot secrets. October 20th, which was the day that the film was captured, is kind of like it's not a national holiday, but it's basically like Sasquatch Awareness Day. There's a lot of festivals that happen in honor of Bigfoot around that time, and they're fucking everywhere. There's music festivals. There was one I was reading that's in Knoxville, or not Knoxville, that's in like it's somewhere that is sponsored by Monster Energy. The drink. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, that checks out.
But I found this one thing that was interesting. There's a museum called Bigfoot Crossroads of America and Research Center. It's in Nebraska. And last year, the museum was actually selected to be added to the U.S. Library of Congress. So all of their archives are available at the U.S. Library of Congress. So I thought that was kind of interesting, considering what he's actually about to talk about. And then before this, I was actually looking up like weird laws about Bigfoot. So there are actually certain counties in Washington state where it is illegal to kill a Bigfoot, and it is considered a misdemeanor if you kill one. So there are certain states in Washington state that there are protective areas and whatnot, which I found kind of interesting, to protect them and make sure that they stay alive. There was someone in Oklahoma that tried to get the wildlife people in Oklahoma to issue permits to kill Bigfoot. So,
I mean, what's the best way to prove that it exists besides producing a body?
That's true. But he, my lovely fiance, is going to talk about some basic encounters that people have. There's a constant theme that you'll kind of see that presents itself. Because there's multiple theories about what Bigfoot actually is. Is it actually a creature that's like the missing link between in the evolutionary chain, or is Bigfoot a multi-dimensional creature that travels dimensions? Is it a UFO? You never know.
How would Bigfoot be a UFO?
I don't know. It's multi-dimensional, travels. Maybe the aliens bring it down to fuck with us. I don't know.
I've never seen a flying Bigfoot.
Doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
No, but there are a lot of encounters where Bigfoot is described with sightings of balls of light and things of that nature.
Yeah, I've heard the theory that Bigfoot is an alien as well.
Yeah, I'm not too sold on that. I've only heard a couple weird encounters that kind of lined up with that a little bit, but I don't know. I'm more on the flesh and blood side. But, I mean, everything that I've heard of, I've been interested in it now for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. My dad was interested in it, so of course, apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
That's true.
But basically, where I get all my information is another podcast called Sasquatch Chronicles. I think they have over 950 episodes right now, maybe more for premium listeners. Like I said, 900 some episodes, and almost all of them are eyewitness testimony. People that just want to tell their stories. You can tell just by listening to their voice, like how genuine it is. And I just want to say, anybody gets curious about this episode and everything, I don't think you want to go looking for these things.
No.
Like 9 times out of 10, people describe it as the most terrifying experience they have ever been in.
Yeah.
There's been people that have been in gunfights in Afghanistan, and they say that's nothing compared to the fear that I had when I witnessed this creature.
So, like, he plays it while he does the dishes and stuff, and some of these stories are absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrifying. Because he'll play me ones that are like, babe, you need to hear this. This is insane. And I would never want to stumble upon these creatures out in the wild. Like, I would quietly tiptoe away. Y'all can have your space. Or like, no.
Yeah, I kind of have a secondhand story. My mom's last husband had a Bigfoot encounter.
Yeah. Do you want to share your family story?
Yeah, my grandpa, I think he was living in Portsmouth, Ohio, Southern Ohio at the time, walking down railroad tracks with his buddy, and all of a sudden, over this hill up ahead, rocks started flinging at him. They're hollering, shouting for, who's there, cut it out, and they just persisted to be pelted with rocks, so they just took off and got out of there. But Johnny, what was your experience?
Well, not my experience. So my mom's last husband, him and his brothers were on, I don't remember which river it was. It was, I think, somewhere in Ohio, but they were fishing, and yeah, they heard some weird noises, and it sounded almost like a bobcat.
Mm-hmm.
And except for it sounded a lot bigger than a bobcat, and it was a good ways off. So they're just like, all right, well, it's probably just a really loud bobcat. And then it got a lot closer within a few minutes, like way closer than a bobcat would be able to travel. And they heard it again, and it was a hell of a lot louder. And they saw like movement in the trees and stuff, and it got really, really freaking loud. And so they hauled ass. They didn't stick around to see.
That's funny because that lines up with a lot of the stories I've heard. First of all, fishing. For whatever reason, a lot of people have more violent encounters when they are fishing. I don't know if it's because the Bigfoot, cherishes the fish and the water. I don't know. But yeah, for one reason or another, fishermen tend to get more violent encounters. And about the acoustics of it, I've heard many times of it mimicking other animals. They're like, oh, it sounded like a coyote or something, but it was way louder. A lot more power behind its voice. They could tell it wasn't a coyote or whatever creature that they were listening for.
Let's talk about some of the stories
All
that
right.
you found interesting from Sasquatch Chronicles.
So yeah, I'll go into a couple more encounters. I kind of told you that a lot of these encounters are not good interactions with Sasquatch, but I want to go into one of the crazier ones I've listened to, and this is actually shows a different side of the Sasquatch.
Oh, this one's a crazy one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's insane. So on Sasquatch Chronicles, this is episode 132. It's titled "A Gold Miner's Encounter." So the individual's name's Bob Garrett. He was a wild man, miner, lived his life in the woods, off the grid. And, growing up, going through life, talking to other miners, other wild men, he had heard of a lot of different experiences. He's had multiple experiences throughout his life. And, like, their take on Bigfoot was basically live and let live. You leave them alone, they're not going to bother you. You guys just kind of live and let live. So yeah, going through life, he like I said, he has multiple experiences. He talks about the differences in looks and behaviors from state to state. When he was in Texas, he described those as more chimp-like, especially like facial features, more of a conical head and different shaped jawline and stuff like that. But in Colorado, where he spent a lot of time, it described him as more man-like. So the main encounter we're going to be going into actually happened in Colorado. He was staying in San Juan Forest. He was camping in a kind of like this cliff with a overhang above him. He was in a like little hole in the cliff there, and he was just staying out there, pants and gold. Like, this is just what he did. He'd just go pack up, choose somewhere to live, and just go stay off grid for a while. He's self-described hippie.
Yeah, fuck the system.
So yeah, he was living in the San Juan, and once he was getting settled in and everything, going down the cliff, there was a river, and he had set up a couple fish traps. Well, he did that, went on about his business, and then later on, he heard like wood breaking. So he runs over, looks over the cliff, and he sees a Sasquatch down there breaking his fish traps and stealing his fish. So, he yells at him. I guess he grabs a rock and throws it down the cliff at this creature.
If I see a big hairy creature breaking my stuff, and I'm definitely going to yell at it. I mean, there's no way that could go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what the fuck?
Like he said, he let the anger get the best of him. And Sasquatch, I think, actually lets out a yell at him, picks up a rock and throws it about 150 yards up a cliff, and it lands right by him. And at that point, he had another rock in his hand ready to throw at him, but he just dropped it at that point. Like, okay.
You win.
He didn't think, he was like, there's no way he can get this rock up there. I'm throwing it downhill at him. He can't throw it all the way up here. No, mistaken. So that happened. And then after that happened, he actually went back, set up another fish trap, but he built a bigger one for the Sasquatch. So he had two fish traps, one that was smaller that he could get into, and one that was a little bit bigger for the Sasquatch. And multiple times he actually witnessed the Sasquatch getting in there, getting the fish, and leaving his alone. So, that worked out. Also, while he was there, he had a little 22 rifle with him. He'd go in the forest, kill a deer and, gut it, leave the guts there and everything. and come back later on and all that's gone. So he actually tried to follow Sasquatch one time when he left like some deer organs or whatever behind, tried to follow him and see where he was going to take it. And the Sasquatch let him know real quick that he was not okay with that. Like, he was giving him roars and everything and basically telling him to back off. So this went on for a little while, and then it started getting cold out. There was a severe ice storm that hit the area. Well, he ended up getting very sick. At times he was passing in and out of consciousness, and he thought he was going to die in there. He tried crawling out to make a fire, just didn't have the energy to do it. Well, a couple days go by of him feeling like this, and over the overwatch ahead of him, he sees a head poke down and look at him. Now, granted, he said he was delirious and everything, but there's a lot of stuff that happens here that I don't think you can discount. So he was in there feeling like shit.
Sick, super sick.
Super sick. And eventually he hears like a slap. So he looks out and there's a slab of meat that had dropped down into where he was staying from the overhang. So over the next couple of days, he manages to gather his strength to cook it up, make a fire and cook it up. The whole time he's passing out, So he manages to eat that. And then a few days after that, another slap, and discovers that a whole rabbit had been dropped in front of him. And then a little bit after that, there was some herbs, like some greenery, some herbs that he assumed were medicinal. So he made a tea out of that. And after the next few days, he started feeling better. Well, he knew he wasn't feeling like he said he wasn't feeling great, but he was feeling good enough, and he knew that he needed to get the hell out of there. So he gathered his strength, packed some stuff up, and took off to get out of the mountain. Well, he didn't make it too far, unfortunately. He left the canyon, passed out. He'd wake up for a little bit, crawl more out of the canyon, pass out again, and then a few times after that, he was waking up and felt like he was moving. You just get the sensation that he was moving. Well, next thing you know, he wakes up in a van, and the man who he awakens to, a couple hippies that were living in a van, basically, they awaken him, and he says, "Man, I don't know where you got the strength to jerk my van like that, but I thought something was going to haul it off." So what he thinks happened is this creature carried him out of that canyon, basically delivered him to this van, shook the van to get the people's attention, and left him there for him to basically get taken care of.
To get to the hospital.
Which is crazy. Like I said, 99% of the other encounters that I've listened to are, negative kind of encounters, but this is just insane to me.
Yeah, they're not all mean. There's some that are nice. There's some.
Well, did you hear the story of the encounter with the woman who supposedly had sex with Bigfoot?
No.
I'm sorry, I have to bring this up. This is hilarious. So apparently this lady was out hanging laundry on her clothesline, and she saw Bigfoot, and she was terrified. So she started running. Well, it started chasing her. She tripped and fell and looked up and noticed that he was, shall we say, excited to see her.
That is a common theme in a lot of the stories, is Bigfoot is wrecked while he's being super scary.
Yeah. Basically, when he goes into a rage, a lot of people report him having an erection. And
so he has a raging boner.
Or urinating, shall I say.
Yeah. So she figured that because she was a little excited by what he had going on. So she figured she would help him out, and supposedly Bigfoot fucked her and then left, and there was no other interaction.
Okay.
He never came back for more?
I guess not.
I guess she just wasn't that good.
Or it was a little weird with it being a human. But yeah, that's a common theme, is either Bigfoot urinates or he has an erection due to rage. I don't know.
I mean, I've been angry before. I've never been angry enough to
Cause that?
Yeah.
No, I have to agree with you on that.
when I'm and I've heard other people like anger fucking or
Yeah.
whatever, but me personally, if I'm pissed off, my mind is elsewhere other than that.
Yep. What's
Yeah,
your
it's
next?
kind of weird.
What's your next encounter?
So my next one kind of goes into, well, my next couple kind of go into the theme of the government knows about these creatures and are actively covering it up. There might be a couple reasons for that. Go and listen to some of these encounters. If you knew that creature was out there and could, very easily end your life, how many people are going to stop going to, these forests and everything? The forest is just like anything else. They're making money on the people that go there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one that I'm going to go into now is episode 16 on Sasquatch Chronicles, called Government Cover Up. So there's this man, he was out hunting on a four-wheeler, found some prints in the snow, follows them about 150 yards, and he hears grunting. He assumed it was bear. He's in Bear County. He kind of sees some movement in the trees a little bit. Can't really make out what it is, so he, gets his rifle ready just in case. Well, as he proceeds closer to the sounds, he sees one in a tree. It's about 5.5 foot. He said it was a female, long black fur, and he almost threw up. He was so scared. He started backing off when he discovered that there was another one, male, about 8 foot tall, that was kind of off to his other side. So at this point, he feels like he's being surrounded. The one that's in the tree, he's a lot closer to, and it makes an aggressive grunt sound. So he doesn't hesitate, shoulders his rifle, and fires into its chest. And then he takes off after that. He takes off, run into his four-wheeler. He looks back because he assumes the other one's going to be chasing him, and he's going to, prepare another round to fire into the other one. Well, he sees the other one picking up the fallen female that he has shot. And at this point, he goes into size. He's guessing the female's about 500 pounds. He's guessing the male's around 8 to 900 pounds. So these are huge creatures. So he picks her up, carries it up this 30-foot sheer cliff in about 5 seconds.
What?
Yeah, he said it was insane. So he got back to his four-wheeler, runs home. He calls the warden, describes what happened, and the warden comes out. He takes him to the location. The whole time, the warden's really skeptical. The warden basically just wants to leave, and the guy's like, no, I'm telling you, like, I shot something. I don't know if it was a man. I don't know what it was. Like, you need to come check it out. So eventually, warden agrees. They go check it out. They get to the area and find the blood from where he shot this creature. They find the 2 sets of prints. They follow him up to the sheer cliff. Basically, warden sees that he wasn't lying about this. But the warden doesn't really say much about it. He just gets the information and gets out of there. And he lets him know that another government agency may be in contact with you. So about a week later, 2 guys show up to his work. They ask to speak to him privately. So he leaves work. They go back to his house, basically have a conversation. And this follows through to a lot of other encounters. So one of the guys is basically clean cut, CIA looking, in a suit, well taken care of. The other guy kind of looks like a biker, like long hair, kind of scruffy, bigger guy, a little bit more intimidating. So one good cop, one bad cop kind of deal. And basically the good cop gets a story out of him again, goes over what all did you see, what happened. And after he's done describing it, the scruffy guy basically tells him it's in your best interest not to tell anyone about this. Basically shuts him up about it. Like, you didn't see what you saw. It was a bear kind of deal, which that follows through to a lot of other encounters too.
Yeah.
And they go into in this episode about multiple 911 calls that have been deleted.
It goes all the way to the top.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a conspiracy.
In the words of Georgia, hard start. Goes all the way to the top. Oh, is this the one where they cordon off the national forest?
So that's the next one.
This one's good. Sorry. Sorry.
So next one I want to talk about is episode 70 and 71. It's called Down the Rabbit Hole. And they have a retired policeman, a current policeman, and basically an insider on these episodes. I'm just going to summarize. Go have a listen. They talk about some crazy stuff.
It is insane.
Yeah. There's a video Bob Garrett put out basically of this video of this camp in Texas that was ransacked. There's blood everywhere. It basically looks like the whole place was fucking bulldozed. Well, he put the video up on YouTube. And
good old YouTube.
Yep. Of course. All his social media and everything gets deleted after that.
He gets blacklisted, basically.
Gets blacklisted. They come down with a case on him for, I forget what. So he lawyers up and basically comes to a resolution to remove, a lot of parts of the video.
Yeah.
Even after he did that and the case was settled, they still deleted his account. So it's whatever. But a lot of what they talk about in here is like basically you can talk about Sasquatch and stuff all you want, but once you have evidence, they will shut you up.
They shut you down.
They will ruin your life, your career.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now for the doozy.
Is this the Lee Strout one?
No.
Wait, there's more?
He's got
you know Lee Strout, right?
Survivor
Man
from the show.
I know who you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. He actually did a what do you call it?
He did a show.
He did a show about Bigfoot.
I think it's just called Bigfoot or like Finding Bigfoot.
Finding Bigfoot, possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something like that.
And on the episode of Sasquatch Chronicles, he talks about how he did not televise a lot of what he recorded because they wouldn't let him, basically.
Mm-hmm.
He had some crazy experiences. And this goes back to kind of the mythical versus flesh and blood. He believes these are more mythical creatures. He had multiple experiences where he basically was talking to these creatures in his mind,
like telepathically.
Telepathically, what they call mind speak.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah. Lee Strout has his own encounter that he talks about and stuff. So.
But I just want to go into one more here before we got to wrap up. This is episode 914. It's entitled "Lance Corporal Shoots One."
Oh, this one's good.
Yeah, so individual's name's John. He's a Marine, and he's a designated marksman. So, he carries a .308 round rifle. This takes place at the Navy base on Georgia-Florida border. One day, he's called into his platoon commander's office, and he's told to go to Lake D. Lake D is a local, not far from the base, just a public lake, but there's been a lot of reports of an aggressive animal in the area. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. And this is kind of funny. So his platoon commander told him, and I quote, "It's a chimp or some shit." is the creature that he's there to take care of. So he gets there, sets up a tree stand by a game trail. He noticed a couple people camping, 200 yards away. So he set up kind of to stay away from them. First night goes by, and there's a little bit of activity. There's a rock that gets thrown into the lake, and he also sees some trees swaying back and forth in the distance, along with some sounds of, popping, wood popping, stuff like that. That's about all that happens the first night. Next morning, he gets up and he goes to set up closer to where the activity was the day before. While he was sitting there, the police, I guess it was, I don't know if it was police or if it was, what do you call those?
Game warden?
Yeah, game warden. They noticed him there, talked to him, asked him what he was doing. He basically explained the situation, and the police went and kicked out the campers, locked up the gates to block any further entrance into the camp. So as it gets later, he kind of starts hearing some activity, and later on witnesses the creature walking down this path. So he doesn't hesitate. He's a trained marksman. He shoulders his rifle, aims, fires a shot, goes into the shoulder of the creature, and then reloads and shoots it again in the head. He was instructed, once he took the creature out, to call the supervisor. He did so. About 10 to 15 minutes later, Humvees start pouring in. Basically, he tries to go look at the creature as he's walking with his CO, and he's told eyes to the front. Basically, don't look at what's going on over there. Don't look at it. Don't. There was also some people in a white car pull up. He's assuming government agents. They weren't dressed military. They were dressed, more casual.
Mm-hmm.
They were regarded in high regards, basically, by it appeared to him that everyone answered to them. As he was leaving, he basically overheard people talking about, we're going to need a backhoe to get this thing out of here. And that was about it. He went in for debriefing and never heard anything else about it, basically.
Is that the one where they shut the forest down?
Yeah.
Yeah, they shut it down, basically, and, go in after.
Yeah, for cleanup and everything.
Yeah, they shut the national forest down, basically. There's some scary encounters out there.
That's
scary encounters.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that the government doesn't want us to know stuff.
Correct, which is not shocking at all.
That doesn't sound like the U.S. government at all.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
They're
going to shut us down.
Why would they want us to know stuff? Why would they want us to know that Bigfoot's real? Come on, guys.
I mean, you can say that they're protecting people, but at the same time, it's the U.S. government. They're probably monetizing stuff.
Probably. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. Would you go into a forest when there's a 800-pound creature in there that could kill you easily?
Rip you from limb?
I mean, I'm from the Appalachians, so there's bears.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I went camping in the mountains. I don't know how many times. So yeah, no, I'd do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the sightings of these creatures are so few and far between.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really going to affect me going in the woods. We go hiking a lot.
Yeah.
But part of me thinks that's a big reason why it's kept under wraps.
Yeah. I think it's more because they might be interdimensional creatures.
Yeah.
I think the government wants to figure out how they travel, which is why we're not allowed to know about it.
Well, because one of the other dimensions might have oil.
God fucking forbid.
Anyways, we're not going to get into that tangent. So, hey, we have cards to pull, but first, we want to give a very special thank you for your insight into Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was like, he actually has a tarot. I made him pull it before we did this, but yeah, this is what he's into. We're into this, and he's into this.
It's interesting.
I'll give you credit. It is rather interesting, especially the stories and stuff that I've listened to through Sasquatch Chronicles. They're absolutely terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. If we've ever encountered one, it'd be goodbye.
Okay, we're never coming back here again.
We're not coming back here again. Yeah.
See, you do that, I'd be the idiot that would try and communicate with it.
Yeah. Be sitting there no.
Trying real hard.
And then you just hear in response, Batman?
Yes. So, did you want to read your card first, or do you want me to read our cards first?
I can do mine first. So I got the 10 of Discs, or 10 of Pentacles, depending on which deck you're reading from. It represents the final results of cumulative, I'm not saying that right, efforts perhaps for many generations of efforts, resulting in such an abundance that it directly and indirectly supports a lot of people in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, imagine a flow of abundant resources, so abundant that you are filled with not only pride, but self respect and gratitude. So basically, lots of good things are coming because of, hard work from for a long time is finally paying off.
Okay, these all kind of tying together again. So the first one that he pulled is the Fool, which is my lovely Jack Skellington. So I have a Nightmare Before Christmas deck. Sorry. So this deals with new beginnings. The Fool embarks on his journey towards the unknown. A blank slate, he represents the archetype of the unformed, unmolded self who has the potential to become all things. You hold with you that potential, the torch that guides your path into the world, and your innocence makes you fearless. With curiosity and excitement, the Fool springs forward with haste. Where will your journey lead you? And then, of course, it can't be it can't be a tarot pull for us if one of us didn't get a cups. So the next one is the Seven of Cups. So when we are given complete independence, we are presented with a dizzying array of choices to make. These choices may lead to paths that are both wondrous and terrifying, but we do not know until we take that path. There are some fundamental questions that we must start asking ourselves in order to choose what is it that our true purpose is. Why would we choose to go down one path versus another? Which of these paths can lead to joy and which will lead to destruction? Contemplate each of these options that are laid in front of you, but be aware of the desire to procrastinate and daydream to avoid the work of knowing yourself. I would say altogether, shit, I don't know what they would mean altogether. You're working hard and it's paying off in order to achieve your freedom, but you have to really look at your choices that you're making and kind of maybe reevaluate some of the choices with your hard work, maybe.
I can agree with that.
Maybe.
Yeah, I can agree with that. All things are coming to a head. You just have to have some final choices to be made to secure the abundance that's coming to you and ensure you're making the right choices for your freedoms.
Oh yeah. I'm there. Right there. Yeah. So, yeah. The next episode that we will be doing is we will be talking about different types of wedding ceremonies, non-traditional wedding ceremonies.
Well, when we say non-traditional, let's non-Christian.
Non-Christian. Thank you for clarifying.
It is traditional.
Yeah. Non-Christian wedding,
just not
ceremonies.
Abrahamically traditional.
Correct. Because as my fiance and I are planning our wedding, there's a lot of different choices on how we want to do this hand fasting stuff. So I'm gonna kind of put stuff together for that for the next episode, and then we will go into a lot of media representation of the occult, and then we'll eventually get into the Satanic Panic and all that
Yay.
is Satanic Panic,
which is one of my favorite topics.
It's rather interesting, and because it morphed a lot of things for us.
Yep.
Because we kind of were in the end of that type thing. So and even now it still morphs things now. Even with the whole when we went into lockdown and like witch talk became very popular and spirituality kind of saw a rise again, there's still a lot of people that it strikes fear in a lot of people. So yeah, we're going to be going into that. I hope everyone has a wonderful spring equinox, because this will be coming out before then. So yeah, we have a spring equinox of Stara. So if you're doing anything, I hope it goes well. But yeah,
Don't party too hardy.
Yeah, don't party too hard. Or if you're gonna party hard, make sure you have a responsible person to make sure that you make it home okay.
Yes, always make sure you have a DD.
Yep, I'm my fiance's permanent DD. That's where I am. So yeah, rate, review, and subscribe. We are on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. On YouTube, I do unboxing videos. I just actually put one up. I'm a couple months behind on my unboxing videos. And then on Instagram, for our book episodes, I post the books and stuff that him and I talk about, so you can comment and stuff if you read the books, what your thoughts were, or what you're reading. So you can do that too. So yeah, if we've messed anything up, or if you have an idea, book suggestion, you can email us at thewayverdragons@gmail.com. But yeah, please rate, review, and subscribe, and please tell a friend. We're on most podcasting platforms, so yeah.
Or else.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll stick Bigfoot on you.
Bigfoot and Mothman. We'll do both.
Alrighty. Until next time, I'm Johnny.
And I'm Kelsey. Bye.
Bye.